Hi folks, this is Jim again, and it's coronavirus week again here in Michigan, uh, March 23rd, 25th, and we all got to keep ourselves busy and keep ourselves occupied and be productive, and this is my latest project right here. I just had this dropped off. A gentleman on the other side of the county, I purchased it from him through Facebook, and what it is this is a 1991 Toyota Celica. And in my mind, this is the car of the century, these Toyota Celicas. I've had 58 of these. This is Toyota number 59. And, that's over a 20-year span of time. But I enjoy these cars very much. They're a lot of fun. I enjoy working on them, fixing them, doing this and that. And this will keep me out of trouble for the next week or so. I paid $350 for this car, and it does not run. It cranks over, but it doesn't fire. So it could be a multiple of issues. The seller was thinking that he described it to me as a possible no fuel situation, or no spark. But I did test it with a little tester, inline spark plug tester, before I purchased the car. And I was not getting any spark at the number one spark plug. As I mentioned, I've had 58 of these Toyota Celicas. This particular one is Luann's. This is a 90 or 91. I cannot remember what year this car is. But, she bought this maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And by the time she paid taxes and the dealership fees and everything, this was a one owner out of Cleveland. I went and picked this up for her. And she bought it. She put it on her credit card, a little $3,500 car. And it's been 5 years. She's been driving it. And this has approximately 160,000 right now, maybe 170. I cannot remember what she's got on this car. But this blue one, the one I picked up or had delivered today, this has 138,000 is what's showing. And it's actually in pretty good shape. Down along here is where it usually rusts out on these cars. And this one here is in pretty good shape. I don't know if you can see that. I don't have a lot of light today, but that's where they rust out. And Luann's car here is pretty rusted, but it's still running good, so we're still driving it. And this particular car, when I get these cars, these Celicas, there's usually about 4 or 5 things wrong with these cars. Typically, the hinges go bad. This is a dual action hinge, and nobody ever oils these or lubricates these, so that the hinge usually goes bad. The power antenna usually is bad on these cars. And then I usually have to put wiper blades on there. And then the other thing that goes bad on these cars, just from abuse and use, is these little knobs right here always crack. Here's the knob, and being it plastic, it is cracked. So this one needs to be replaced, and then this one still feels good. But I have multiples of these because I've been playing with these cars for over 20 years. And been to the junkyards multiple times, and I've got a stockpile of parts. So I have probably almost everything that I would need to get this car going. Okay, that's original radio. It's got air conditioning, tilt wheel. But this is the base model. This particular model right here is power windows, no sunroof, air conditioning. And they call this the STX model. But one thing I do like about this has the 1.6 liter engine in this car, and that's the engine I like. There is a 2.2 liter, and they do share the same engine. These Celicas, like I said, they share all of the same components. Suspensions, tie rod ends, and all that stuff. A-arm, control arms, engines, transmissions. They share all of that with the Camry and the Corolla. So this is a tried, tested, true engine, it's a great engine. It gives me great mileage, and it is strong, and it is peppy. This is a very peppy, snappy little engine. In fact, one of Luann's other Celicas, she loaned it out to somebody who had needed a temporary ride, and she comes back and she says, you'll call that car the Zippy car. Zippy, it's so quick. This is a great engine. I love this engine. One of the funnest cars I've ever had driving, just on the street, was I went to Erie, Pennsylvania, and I bought a white Celica just like this, the 1.6 engine with a 5-speed, and that car, the exhaust pipe was cracked, so it was noisy. It was really noisy, but it had this zippy engine, 5-speed, and with that exhaust pipe cracked like right by the shifter, it seemed like that car had like extra 5 or 10 horsepower, and it was a blast to drive. It was just like, oh boy, that was one of my favorite cars. I bought it off eBay out of Erie, Pennsylvania. I went down and got it, and it was $600. And we had these cars 2 or 3 years, and it finally got hit by a deer, smashed out, and the tow company ended up with that car. But anyways, I'm real excited today. This is one of my favorite cars. In my mind, this is the Toyota Celica is the car of the century. It's just a great car. One of the interesting things about these cars is when Toyota built these, they coated almost every single nut and bolt on this car. And I do live in Michigan, and these cars, all cars in Michigan are known to rust out and subject to rust. But what they did is they coated every single one of these bolts on here from the factory with some special coating. And so like 20 years later, when I work on these things, all I've got to do is break that nut loose, okay? And then they just spin right off with relative ease. So it's been fun. I got another one, paid $350 for it. I don't have, to me, that is about the lowest of the low prices you can get for a car. And this is a good car. It cranks, but it doesn't fire. And it came with parts already that I need. I've got all the manuals. I should be able to sort all this out here pretty quick. What's going on with this car? These are the factory manuals. This is aftermarket. But it came with a distributor off a junk car, and then the other thing that goes bad, this is a new hinge, replacement hinge, and you can see that is like they do a dual action because of this little section right here. If this trunk went straight up, it would bend this every single time. Like this one here, this is pretty bent. This is how they get bent. So I got excited and I started to change the hinge right away. I got my tools out here already. I looked underneath this car. It's nice underneath. It's got a good set of tires all the way around. Okay. And I don't quite know what I'm going to do with this car yet, but I do know I'm going to have some fun with it. I'm anticipating putting a new distributor on it. And I do know we water tested it with the radiator before I bought it, and there's one of these hoses way back in here buried. It's got a pinhole leak in it, so it does shoots coolant out right now. But I've got that hose ordered. Should be here middle of next week. It's coming from like Tennessee or something like that. But I think they're trying to play. That's obviously an American label for a Japanese car, STX. But I'm gonna have some fun with this car. This car actually sat for years. For some reason, they quit driving this car a few years ago, and there's probably 5 or 6, 7, 8 things wrong with this car that I've got to fix. And like I said, I don't really know what I'm going to do with this car. Yeah, there's this hinge. I've already started to take it apart. But I'm super excited. You know, there's things wrong with it, but being a $350 car, I'm not going to get too excited about it. You know, this and that. You know, I did a little fantasy with this car last night. This is our new neighbors over here. This property just sold. I got a story about this property I might share with you at some point. I did own that property across the street for about 3 years. I'll tell you the story at some time in a future video. But this little car, 350 bucks, and I'm sitting here going, get this thing running with zero. With the coronavirus and everything, that's my new plan. Zero everything. Because you've heard me say before, every dollar that you don't spend is a dollar that you don't have to keep re-earning. So I've got an ultra frugal viewpoint on this car, and I've got most of the parts. I've got the battery charger in there. I got it charging already in there. I expect that battery to be junk, but and this is not my favorite color. I mean, I prefer some of the other colors, but my cheap little fantasy is because of the coronavirus. Is right now in Michigan, gas is $1.75 a gallon. So, and nobody's supposed to be working. Everybody's supposed to stay home. It's going to take me a few days to get this running, but my little thing in my mind says $1.75 for gas. Get this car running for virtually nothing, as low as I can, and then from my house, drive out to Seattle. Then from Seattle, drive down through Los Angeles, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, and then go to Tijuana, Mexico, Ensenada, down there in Baja, California. I got my passport, and then turn left and drive on over to Las Vegas, spend a day there, and then Las Vegas, go to a few other places out in that area. You know, I've always wanted to go to that one place where the YouTube Joshua Tree. I've always wanted to go there. Interesting place. A few places on my want to go to list. I've always wanted to go to Dallas, Texas. I want to go to that center, the Daily Plaza, and then swing through a few more of these interesting states, see a few things, then go over to Jacksonville, Florida, turn left, go up through Washington D.C., Mount Vernon, Monticello, all that stuff, then get to New York City, and from there turn left, drive up to Buffalo, and then through there, drive through Cleveland, come back around the lake. And that's 7,500 miles. And I was doing the math on that last night. At $1.75 a gallon, my cost on gas to drive this car, gets 30 miles a gallon, all the way around the big circle, would be $500. And in spirit of being ultra cheap and spending no money, I'm thinking I would limit myself to about $5 per day on food and be gone 30 days, $150 for food, maybe, kind of tough. But I'm talking about peanut butter sandwiches. I'm talking about taking a blanket roll, sleeping on the side of on the ground somewhere. Try the challenge. This is a mental exercise and challenge, is to do that super big loop all the way around the United States for virtually nothing. I've kind of got it priced out. By the time I buy gas and a few other things, I'm thinking it could be done for $1,000. And, it would be austere. It would be like living like our ancestors lived back in the 30s and 40s when they migrated across the United States with virtually nothing. Talk about the wagon trains that traveled across the United States, and they had nothing in their pocket, but they went. They went. That's what I'm talking about. I'm taking nothing in my pocket, but some, travel wanderlust and some ambition and some adrenaline. See, traveling, that gets my pheromones and serotonin's kicking out. So it's a pretty good buzz for me to drive around. I'd be going to Mount Rushmore. I'd drive through the Indian reservations and just see what's out there. I'd go to Custer's Last Stand. I'd go to Idaho, some of the places. I've been told that Idaho's very, very pretty. And when you go that northern route, you drive through some of the national parks like Yellowstone. Cool stuff. And I think it's free to get into these national parks. I think it is. But anyways, that's kind of like a little wild dream. And with a cheap car like this, it's a possibility, And I've only got $350 invested in this. If this thing blows up on me halfway across the United States, it's no big deal. Leave it there, sell it, get $200 or whatever, scrap, and then you jump on a train, come home. So it's not, if it turns out to be ultimate failure, and part of the excitement to me is, I'm saying it's a mental exercise and it's a challenge, is taking a virtually nothing car and getting in it, and the scariness of driving a car that you know nothing about and driving across the United States, this big gigantic circle, and take all my tools. I got more tools than this, but take some parts, and there's auto zones all around across the United States, Advanced Auto, all these places. And so I'm not really, if the thing breaks down on the road, I just fix it. It's a Toyota, it's a Celica. These are all Corolla parts. There's junkyards spread across the whole United States. So a little bit of adventure for me, and like I'm saying is that that kind of thing right there, living on the edge, push my limits and challenging myself, is gets my serotonins kicking around, endorphins, and all those other things. It's safe, that's a little safe hobby. It keeps me out of trouble. I think the worst thing that could happen is I might get a ticket out there. I might get harassed by somebody out there, but that's okay. I don't really care about that. So just some thoughts, but like I say, this is, to me, is one of the cars of the centuries. I've had phenomenal fun with these cars over the years. Like I say, I've had 58. This is Luann's second one. So between the two of us, we've had 60 of these Toyota Celicas. They're a nice car. We've had great luck with them. So, but if you want one, you better buy it right now, because there are some out there, and there's two kinds of Celicas out there right now. There's the ones that are totally trashed out. They're junk. They're not worth messing with. Rusted, and dents. A lot of these cars got into the hands of teenagers. Nothing against them, but it takes an older person to maintain these cars and not run them to death. So there's really two kinds out there right now in the market. There's the trashed out kinds, and there's the cars that are actually maintained, fairly presentable, drivable condition, and those cars are starting to get pricey. You can check on eBay, you can check on cars.com, auto.com, and all that stuff. But what used to be a cheap car, it's all attrition. Enough years have gone by that the attrition has happened. All the ones that are gone into junkyards, and what's left, there's a handful of good ones. And I don't know if I got a good one here yet. I'll find out. But so they are getting pricey, and you can look on eBay. There's some people asking some, like, what I would call crazy prices for these Celicas. I don't know. All the ones I've had, I bought all dirt cheap. $900, $600, $1,200, $1,500. I think I can't remember any off the top of my head that I paid over. I don't think I paid over $3,000 for any one of those 58. They're all less than that. So, but the funny thing about why these cars are still so practical is because the technology on these cars has not outdated yet. 5 or 10 more years, maybe the technology will be impractical. The autos get more advanced, more electronics on them. You know, maybe they'll have some kind of sensors. You got to have a sensor on your car to ride down the roads legally in the United States. This car won't have anything like that. There's no tracking devices on this car. There's no GPS. There's no that roof antenna that they put on the lease cars. You see them on all the lease mobiles, so that they know exactly where all these cars are at the same time all the time. Some of these cars, the new ones, are going to be able to immobilize the cars from a satellite. This car's too old for that. So that's all I got for you. I'm not going to jabber anymore. I've jabbered quite a bit because I'm excited because I like these cars. And I'm going to have some fun. And I hope you guys do too. Every day is a good day to make money. And I hope you're well. And I will talk to you later. Sparky, say hello. Yeah, say hello.